This is National 9 Early News with Mark Ferguson.
This morning, Al-Qaeda claims responsibility for last week's Jakarta bombing. Liberia's president leaves the country after passing power to his deputy. And a fatal plane crash in Perth. Good morning. Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility for last week's bombing of the Marriott Hotel in downtown Jakarta. In an unsigned document, the terrorist network says attacks will continue if their demands are not met.
Last week, Indonesian police announced Jemaah Islamiyah, or JI, Al-Qaeda's arm in Southeast Asia, carried out the attack on the Marriott Hotel. Now Al-Qaeda itself has claimed responsibility. In an unsigned statement released to sympathizer websites and Arab media, Al-Qaeda says this operation is part of a series of operations that Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, Al-Qaeda's #2, has promised to carry out. It calls the attack a fatal slap on the face of America and its allies in Muslim Jakarta, where faith has been denigrated by the dirty American presence and the discriminatory Australian presence.
The claim has the hallmarks of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda always refers to certain individuals and certain situations.
The statement says the Marriott Hotel was attacked because CIA agents questioning Indonesian mujahideen in custody were staying there. The U.S. Embassy refused to comment. This comes after the Indonesian police said the suspected suicide bomber was a JI member who attended an Islamic boarding school notorious for funneling recruits into JI.
It shows very clearly that JI is an appendage of Al-Qaeda, that JI is working very closely in concert with Al-Qaeda, that JI is an associate group of Al-Qaeda, that JI is willing to conduct terrorist operations, terrorist attacks in keeping with the mandate of Al-Qaeda.
And authorities here fear those attacks may continue.
3 Iraqis have been killed by U.S. forces in Baghdad. American soldiers claim the trio was shot after attacking a military convoy with a grenade, but locals insist the dead were innocent bystanders. Northeast of Baghdad, a U.S. soldier was killed and another 2 were injured when they were attacked with a homemade bomb outside the police station they were guarding. With no end to the clashes in sight, U.S. officials fear foreign terrorist groups are now gathering in Iraq.
Early this morning, an American soldier was killed and 2 others wounded from the 4th Infantry Division when someone threw a homemade bomb at a police station they were guarding in the northern town of Bakuba. Here in Baghdad, 2 grenades were thrown at trucks as they drove near the British Embassy. People here are worried this upsurge in violence means there may be more attacks, like the one against the Jordanian embassy last Thursday. FBI agents were sifting through the debris of the building this morning. The embassy was leveled by a truck bomb last Thursday, killing at least 17 people, all of them Iraqis. The attack heightened fears already circulating that foreign terrorist groups are gathering here. U.S. Administrator Paul Bremer said that hundreds of Islamic militants who fled the country during the war are returning and planning major terrorist attacks. Some, he claims, have ties to Al-Qaeda.
Among the terrorist groups that we are concerned about, Ansar al-Islam is certainly high on the list.
To make matters worse, there are daily riots in southern Iraq. Dodgy power and fuel supplies, combined with temperatures above 130 degrees, have made for an explosive combination in Basra. People have vented their anger, throwing stones at British soldiers and supply trucks.
Liberian President Charles Taylor has passed power to his deputy, Vice President Moses Blah. His parting words to his people were, "God willing, I'll be back." It's hoped his resignation will end years of bloodshed in the war-torn country. A plane carrying Mr. Taylor left Liberia this morning. Heavy security and emotional supporters crowded onto the tarmac at Monrovia Airport as the ousted leader and his wife left for exile in Nigeria. His departure was followed by celebrations in the streets. A 20-year-old man has become the second person to be charged over the murder of Wollongong teenager Steve Tarleton almost 3 years ago. His body was found at the weekend at Port Kembla. The arrest follows the appearance of an 18-year-old man in court. He was refused bail and will reappear in court next month. The Civil Aviation Safety Authority and the Australian Transport Safety Bureau are investigating a plane crash near Perth which has claimed the life of one person and injured another 5 people who remain in a serious condition in hospital. It's believed their plane clipped trees and burst into flames after the pilot turned back following engine trouble.
This is the charred wreckage of the Cessna, which was taking off from Jandakot Airport. On board were a pilot and 5 passengers.
There is 1 deceased and 3 seriously injured.
It's understood the aircraft, shortly after takeoff, spiralled out of control into the ground, crashing into trees and bursting into flames. The wreckage 500 metres from the runway. Joan Winch was sitting in the viewing lounge at Jandakot Airport and witnessed the accident.
And we watched it, and it went right to the end of its runway and got to the top of the trees, and it just stayed the level of the trees and did a circle, and there's an embankment of trees at the back, and just kept going in the same direction, and a big ball of flame straight into like the hill of trees, and just the flames just came, one great big explosion.
One of the people on board died at the scene. 4 others, one who's believed to have been the pilot, were rushed to Royal Perth Hospital, which has a specialised and world-class burns unit. Another of the injured was medevaced by the new search and rescue helicopter, which was at Jandakot Airport undertaking training exercises at the time.
Well, we thought, well, nobody would have come out of it. It was just a huge ball of flame.
It's believed the plane experienced engine trouble on takeoff. It then had trouble climbing and finally stalled as the pilot attempted to turn downwind. Emergency services had to navigate sandy firebreaks to reach the crash site, hosing down what was left of the aircraft. This is the 2nd serious incident at Jandakot Airport in a week. Last Tuesday, another plane crash landed, but the 2 men on board walked away unhurt. Grant Taylor, National 9 News.
The Prime Minister has defended plans to resume links with Indonesia's elite Kopassus Special Forces. Australia had severed all ties with the unit after it was linked with atrocities in East Timor. The Indonesian soldiers have also been accused of kidnap, arson and murder in the rebellious province of Aceh. Mr Howard says the relationship is needed to present a united front against terrorism. Amid fears of a terrorist attack, tight security will surround the Australian team heading to the Athens Olympics. It's believed the athletes will be accompanied at all times by their own private security team. They may even be banned from sightseeing in the city. The Olympic Games have always been a prime target for terrorists, and the Greek government says $1.5 million has been spent on security. On financial markets this morning, our dollar is higher at 65.84 US cents. The Dow Jones Index is ahead at 26 points as trading is closing in New York. Gold jumped $5.05 overnight as the US dollar weakened, and oil is down 27 cents a barrel. Now checking the national weather, and an area of high pressure lies over Queensland and the northwest Tasman Sea. A low in the Bight is moving a front across WA and South Australia, bringing showers. Cairns heading for a fine day, a top of 27, Brisbane fine and 23, cloudy in Sydney 22, fine in Canberra, a top of 18, cloudy in Melbourne 17, rain for Hobart, a top of 16, showers and 19 degrees for Adelaide, a sunny day in Perth, a top of 16, cloudy in Alice Springs 31 and 31 degrees and showers for Darwin. After the break on the early news, soaring temperatures claim at least 50 lives in Paris. And in sport, Canberra questions the consistency of the NRL judiciary as skipper Simon Woolford faces a 2-match suspension. The Bracks government has defended claims 16 deaths in Victorian hospitals were the result of medical mistakes last financial year. Adding to the controversy, claims the deaths are only a small portion of the real number.
16 people lost their lives unnecessarily in Victorian hospitals in the last year, up from 2 the previous year.
Any death that's associated with a misadventure in a hospital, you know, we would all regret, and we would all want to try and improve our performance so it doesn't happen again.
Among a total of 80 medical blunders reported, procedures involving the wrong person or body part, instruments left inside patients and incorrect medication. The AMA and opposition blame lack of funding. The state government says identifying mistakes makes the system ultimately safer.
There are 1 million patients who go through hospital systems within Victoria each year. There are 80 that have been reported of in this event.
The government has defended the practice of not revealing where patient deaths occur, arguing it would discourage hospitals from reporting mistakes in the first place.
But it's claimed many more fatal mistakes go unreported or unacknowledged. Mario Trigus' wife, Connie, was admitted to hospital for removal of a non-benign tumour last year. A week later, she was dead.
One day they are telling you quite common, straightforward, and then it's deadly. I wonder what a serious operation is like.
Mr. Trigus believes a series of mistakes, including the failure to monitor her falling blood platelets, incorrect medication and an early discharge, brought about her death. Sally Pickering, National 9 News.
While parts of the country sweltered as England recorded its hottest summer's day, other areas saw flash floods and thunderstorms. Weather experts are now assessing the implications of such extremes.
The mercury may be falling slowly this week, but on Brighton Beach today, people were still having to cool off as temperatures stayed in the mid-70s Fahrenheit. The weekend's record-breaking weather, though, has provoked an intense debate among scientists about what's causing Britain's sizzling summer. Many think global warming is to blame, saying man-made pollution is turning the planet into one giant greenhouse. If they're right, unless we stop burning fossil fuels, we can expect every summer to be like this one. Great for sunbathing, but it could have a real impact on the way we live. Our rail network may grind to a halt with tracks being damaged by the heat. Air pollution may become unbearable, and skin cancer may also become a bigger killer. But other experts say global warming is not caused by man, but rather by natural variations in the strength of the sun.
We say it's particles from the sun which determine our climate, and carbon dioxide levels are in fact on average determined by temperatures, not the other way around. The fact that man is producing more carbon dioxide around now is just a coincidence.
Whatever the cause, it appears 2003 is a scorcher worldwide. In Canada, forest fires have devastated homes in British Columbia. There have been similar scenes in Portugal and Italy. The heat has also triggered violent thunderstorms and flash floods in northern Britain. If the most dire predictions are correct, we can expect much more extreme weather every year.
Soaring temperatures have also taken their toll in Paris, where 50 people have died from heat-related illnesses in the past 4 days. Doctors say most of those affected were chronically ill. In the French Alps, police are warning hikers to be wary of possible rock avalanches as the glacial ice that usually holds them in place melts. Rescue helicopters have so far rescued 44 climbers who found themselves on unstable ground. A national disaster has been declared in the Serb-controlled region of Bosnia, where the heat wave has destroyed almost 50% of this year's food production. An ongoing drought has destroyed almost $175 million worth of yeast and corn, causing dramatic price increases. Most of the country's farms were lost during the war in the early 90s, and Bosnia has since been importing 60% of its food. That figure is now set to rise to at least 80% in the near future. The nation's agricultural minister has appealed to the international community for help. Tim Gilbert with Sport next, and Brisbane coach Lee Matthews looking for a state of origin-style atmosphere when the Lions play the Swans.
Yes, Mark, the game is crucial for both teams heading into the AFL finals, and Totai Kefu in doubt for Saturday's Bledisloe Cup decider between the Wallabies and the All Blacks.